on this day, Saturday, September 16th, Mario Andretti is racing again. This time in the Michigan 150, a race of the United States Auto Club, the Indianapolis cars, as their season moves its climax and its close. He's one of the central figures. The other, Al Unser. For the first time in history, one man has won the Indianapolis 500, the Pocono 500, and the Ontario 500 in California. And Al Unser is that man. Apparently headed for the championship of USAC, but it's not over yet. Should be quite an afternoon on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Call the season what you will. Call it late summer or early autumn or Indian summer. Whatever you call it, it's a perfect day at Michigan International Speedway in Irish Hills, Michigan, with this year's renewal of the Michigan 150. There, the Indianapolis-type cars of the U.S. Auto Club moving out onto the race course, preliminary to the start. The temperature here in the mid-70s, headed for 80 this afternoon. The man on the pole as they pulled out was Johnny Rutherford. He qualified at a speed of more than 205 miles an hour. It's a real fast 2-mile oval here. I'm Jim McKay, and there are a lot of stories. There's Mario Andretti just back from Italy and his tragic clinching of the World Grand Prix Driving Championship. But racing today, there is Al Unser, the first man ever to win the Indianapolis 500, the Pocono 500, and the Ontario 500, all in the same year. And there are other stories beside those. For those, let's bring in our expert on motor racing, Jackie Stewart.
Well, thank you, Jim. Beautiful weather here in Michigan. I think the story for us is going to see what Danny ONGAIS does. Danny had trouble. His car didn't come here for qualifying or practice yesterday. He's right at the very back of the grid. And in fact, this morning, he blew an engine this morning. So he really doesn't know how the car's behaving around these 18-degree banked oval circuit here. I think that's going to be interesting. AJ FOYT, only his second race in this new team, new car of his that he's sharing with who else but Parnelli Jones, a great adversary from the past. So I think that's going to be interesting. And of course, the man on the pole, let's see if he can do it, because he hasn't had a very good season so far.
All right, we want to check in with our other colleague down in the pits. Before we do, Jackie, I know there's an award given every year in the States for reporting on motor racing, dedicated to the late Ken Purdy, who was one of the very best writers on this sport. And this year, for the first time, it was given to an electronic journalist, our man, Chris ECONOMAKI. Congratulations, Chris.
Thank you, Jim. We've got a new system down here in the pits at the Michigan 150. A few races ago, USAC put a new rule into effect, closing the pits under the yellow flag condition until such time as the cars stack up behind the safety car. At that point, a sign is put up at the start-finish line with the word pit on it, and again that sign is also shown at the end of the pit road. Then and only then may drivers stop for service to their cars under a yellow flag situation. The reason for this is to close up the cars and to keep some one driver every now and then from gaining a lap on the field. It makes things more equal and hopefully more safe. Should someone violate this rule, the penalty is a black flag under green flag conditions. The car stops in the pits and is set on its way. Exceptions are if your engine is dead or if you have a flat tire, you may then come in the pit. Back to you, Jim.
Let's set the rows now, Chris. On the pole, number 4 is Johnny Rutherford. Next to him, number 1 is Tom SNEVA. In the second row on the inside is AJ FOYT in car number 14, but Mario Andretti, who's supposed to be on the outside of the second row, has pulled into the pits and may not make the start. There he is, the new World Grand Prix driving champion. Row 3, number 2 is Al Unser, who, remember, has won all 3 500-mile races this year. Number 6 outside of him, Wally DALLENBACH. Row 4, number 8, Pancho Carter. Number 19, Spike GEHLHAUSEN. In the 5th row, number 20 is the veteran, capable Gordy JOHNCOCK. And in car number 20, number 16, Johnny Parsons. In the next row, number 24, Sheldon KINSER. Number 43, Tom BIGELOW. Row 7, number 26, the veteran Jim MCELREATH. And 22, Tom Bagley. Row 8, number 85, Larry Boom Boom Cannon. Number 40, Steve Krisolov. Row 9, 30, Jerry SNEVA, brother to Tom. And 69, Joe SALDANA. In the final row, number 58 is Eldon Rasmussen. And next to him, number 25, Danny ONGAIS, whom you would expect to find up front. But remember, he had trouble. His car wasn't here yesterday ready to qualify. Blew an engine this morning. He'll start at the back, but you can expect him to stand on it. And the green flag is out and they're racing. It's Johnny Rutherford taking the lead from SNEVA. On the inside of the second row, AJ FOYT trying to solidify third place behind them, and so he does. So it's familiar names up front. It is Johnny Rutherford, Tom SNEVA, and AJ FOYT. Pretty good start. Everything satisfactory, Jackie?
Yes, Johnny Rutherford got away to a very good start, then seemed to halt just a little bit while he seemed to be engaging another gear, and then accelerated away clearly as they go into this high 18-degree banking around this Michigan International Speedway at high speed here, tremendously high lap speed as they go through here. Johnny Rutherford clearly leading.
Chris ECONOMAKI, if you can hear me in the pits, what is the problem with Mario Andretti? The yellow flag goes out as I ask Chris that question.
It's an
And there is a car down low. A car has lost a wheel that's rolling between turns 3 and 4. There's Mario sitting in the pit still. We cannot make out. All right, Chris, go ahead.
Okay, well, down here by Mario Andretti's car, it's an ignition problem. They're checking the spark plugs. They can't seem to find what exactly the trouble is. They're examining them, and the ones they're pulling out seem to be okay. Again, a mysterious ignition problem has kept Mario Andretti from starting. Back to you, Jim.
All right, the car who threw a wheel is Tom Bagley. So the yellow flag is out at Michigan. There he is in car number 22, doing a good job of getting it back into the pits. However, the yellow, it looks like, will be out at least for a couple of minutes here. Shouldn't be too long. So, we're at Michigan International Speedway. The race has started. Immediately there have been incidents. Mario Andretti into the pits. Bagley losing a wheel. Stand by, there's more to come. The green flag is out again at Michigan International, where Johnny Rutherford is still the leader in the early going of the Michigan 150. The man who sat on the pole, but here coming into the pits, that's number 8, Pancho Carter. Pancho Carter headed for the pits under the green flag, and obviously unscheduled pit stops. We've only run 6 laps in this race so far. So that'll remove him from serious contention, certainly. Young man who's been on the rise in this sport, a very talented driver. His father before him was very well. What? There's a crash between 3 and 4, Jackie. Al Unser, isn't it?
Al Unser, but he's out the car. He's staggering over. He's obviously hurt himself. Car number 2, Al Unser, certainly. Oh, and he's down on his knees. He's perfectly conscious, undoing his own helmet.
There's another car in it, Jackie. The blue car there, is that 19, isn't it? Spike Gelhausen.
He's okay, though. His arms are moving around. The rescue people are to him. He looks like he can't get out the car, Jim. The car on the left-hand side is the car of Al Unser, who's lying on the ground now. He's got the rescue people there. He's still moving around. His head's fallen back a little bit. Heavy impact. Remember, he must have been doing a speed of close to 200 miles an hour where that accident occurred.
Just about everybody's attention here was focused on Pancho Carter coming into the pits on that unscheduled stop when suddenly there was a crash between 3 and 4. It's obvious that Gelhausen hit Al Unser. What caused it, we don't know. We don't know. I couldn't see it well enough.
A flash of flame there as that car was suddenly recognized by the firefighters there. They've certainly done that. They've put the red flag out. They've stopped the race itself. Immediately, these rescue crews, which USAC so famous for this, and there you see the red flag is being flagged. This means that they're going to come to a stop. Al Unser's on his knees now. Al Unser's obviously been dazed. He's going to get up. He will go to the hospital, Jim. The rule of USAC here is that every driver who comes in contact must go to the hospital to be checked.
Go to the track hospital to check everything over. A very good rule. Spike Gelhausen still in the car, but there's no flame, no fire in his car. He is moving. It's just going to be a question of getting him out of the car, and it appears that will take a little bit of time. There's the way they stand in the race. They've only completed 8 laps. Mario Andretti out of the race, an eventful day and not a very pleasant one so far. These things seem to go in strings, accidents in motor racing. Last weekend, of course, a terrible event at Monza, Italy. Well, there is where Al Unser hit the guardrail, apparently. One of the drivers closest to the crash was Tom Bigelow. Chris is with him in the pits right now.
This is Tom Bigelow, car 40 feet. Tom, you were right there at the crash scene. How did that set up?
Well, Chris, Spike was going into the corner and blew the engine. I was just going underneath Al. We've been running side by side. I was underneath him at the time. He just got into the oil, got right into the side of GEHLHAUSEN, and they went up in the fence. There was no place for Al to go.
The cars are terribly damaged. It must have been at great speed.
Yes, we go in there almost flat out, probably about 210 miles an hour when they made contact, and then they just went right up into the wall. With the oil there, you really don't have any control.
Now remember, a red flag is very different from a yellow flag. This race has been physically stopped, will not be restarted until all the damage is repaired on the track. When they start, they will be in single line with the leader, of course, first. Let's take a break now, then. They're about to get the green flag again at Michigan International Speedway. They'll be racing once more, and the good news from the track hospital is that both Spike Gelhausen and Al Unser are okay. A jammed ankle for Gelhausen and just a bruised hip for Al Unser. However, the race leader now, and there's been a lot of shuffling with some pit stops, is Tom Bigelow in car number 43. One would not expect that to last too long with cars of the caliber of Johnny Rutherford, A.J. FOYT, and the others behind him. But that is the word we get. He's out in front, had been behind the pace car. Rutherford, moving up through the pack, has now moved back into 3rd place. A.J. FOYT is in 2nd at the moment. And very shortly, the original leaders will still be the leaders.
A.J. Foyt in this strangely coloured car for him. The coyote red is strong there, but there's also the blue and white of the Val Parnelli colours in that team. So this is something new for A.J. Foyt, but it's really going to be tight as Johnny Rutherford is closing up. Number 3 on the road right now to A.J. Foyt. Bigelow seems to be still holding a commanding lead at this time, and slipping underneath there is Johnny Rutherford, getting past A.J. Foyt as they go into turn 3. This high banking here, 18 degrees of banking in this 2-mile oval here at the Michigan International Speedway, been resurfaced recently over the past winter, and the surface really showing the increased speeds as people would expect. Really the surface is going well for these cars, not the bumpy surface that it used to be.
Well, it's been very well redone, as you said, by Clarence Cagle, the man who used to be in charge of things in Indianapolis, and man who just does anything he touches extremely well. They say Clarence is retired. I think he's been busier ever since he stopped. It is still Tom Bigelow in the lead. Johnny Rutherford, however, closing in on him. Relentlessly, I think, is the word that would apply here. Seems inevitable that he's going to pass Bigelow in a couple of laps, but Tom is holding on extremely well. His car was not thought to be that fast. A.J. Foyt has dropped about 50 yards behind Rutherford in third place.
A.J. Foyt, of course, still trying to get the hang of this new car. He's only driven it in one other race, and that being the Ontario 500, and he only did one lap before clutch or gearbox trouble eliminated him from the event. But there's A.J. Foyt driving this car, which is, of course, extremely strange to him. Still carrying the proud number 14, still got his sponsors as he had them before. But certainly it's a new experience for him not to be driving a car that he himself and the rest of his team have actually constructed.
And particularly, Jackie, a car not with a FOYT engine. In other words, he normally built his own engines as well as the race car, but apparently he thought that the extra weight in that FOYT engine, some 350 pounds, was what might have been holding him back this year compared to the Cosworth, the other V8.
Certainly the extra weight would make it handle less well. It's at least 250 pounds and probably a bit more, as you say. And of course that extra weight in the back of the car doesn't allow the car to be so nimble, doesn't allow it to handle quite so well. And of course that's what you have to have, particularly in a shorter track such as this. And there you see the white car in the background there. That is the car of Johnny Rutherford, car number 4, coming up behind the dark-coloured car number 43 of Tom Bigelow. It'll be interesting to see how Johnny Rutherford stalks Bigelow here, a man of great experience. Rutherford being on pole position at a speed of more than 205 miles an hour in qualifying, the first time that anyone has ever been in pole position outside of Tom SNEVA and of course on GEHLHAUSEN this season. And there you see the lead being taken by Johnny Rutherford going into turn 3.
And of course that was Johnny Rutherford, not A.J. Foyt, sitting in second place. He is now in the lead, having just passed Tom Bigelow. A.J. Foyt still third. All this same-day coverage coming to you on ABC's Wide World of Sports. And there is Rutherford slowing down. Rutherford has slowed down. Bigelow and Foyt flashing past him as they go into turn 1. Big problem with Johnny Rutherford's car.
It looks like we've got again the sort of trouble that's been plaguing this team for all the season, and he's going very slowly now. He shouldn't surely have run out of petrol. That must be an engine problem for him, because indeed he's traveling very slowly. Indeed, it almost seems that he's switched off the power.
And if so, only 13 cars out of an original 20 will be left, and we're still less than halfway through this motor race. So the attrition factor very high on a warm day here. It's 80 degrees, but that shouldn't really be the problem you wouldn't expect. They race very often under weather conditions like this. So we're going to go away and return to see what eventuates in the Michigan 150. We still have Tom Bigelow and A.J. Foyt out there battling for the lead. Johnny Rutherford in the pits appears to have had it for the day, and as we said, that means 7 cars out already, only 13 left.
And there you see A.J. Foyt making a pass.
Yep.
He's going into turn 3. He looks like he's got it firmly into the lead. 1, Anthony Joseph Foyt. And that, yeah, well, it's red, it's coyote red, but it also has a patch of blue there for the first time in his career. For this new team that he's driving, this new car, A.J. Foyt finds himself at this stage getting close to halfway through the race in the lead. Tom Bigelow in second place there, and of course the fact that Johnny Rutherford's car is now being wheeled away as we look out of our commentary position here, it means the end of the race for a very disappointed Johnny Rutherford.
And Team McLaren has not been a good year for them. A.J. Foyt has had his problems, but now this is really perhaps more, as we watch Rutherford's car being pushed away, more of a preview of next year, perhaps, watching A.J. Foyt winging out in front in this Cosworth-powered V8 engine?
Well, he has 5 more races this season still left, so therefore Chris ECONOMAKI is down in the pits with Johnny Rutherford.
Okay, well, Johnny, you were really running out there, and now you're walking. What was the trouble?
Well, the thing broke 4th gear, evidently, or something in the gearbox, Chris. It was like it came out of gear, and I reached over for the gear lever, and it was still in 4th gear. So I slowed down into 1, and I slipped it up into 3rd gear, and it worked. So 4th gear knocked out.
Okay, Johnny Rutherford, 2-time Indy winner, a pit walker now. Back to you, Jim.
Okay, so it was not an engine problem, but a gear problem on Johnny Rutherford's car. At the moment, still, A.J. Foyt, the leader, and beginning to stretch it out now as Tom Bigelow comes into the pits in car number 43.
So our leader's in the pits. Bigelow getting into the pits there. They seem to be getting him gassed up. There they're certainly getting the gas put into Tom Bigelow. It's right opposite our commentary position, but there's our leader, A.J. Foyt.
Okay, and Wally Dallenbach has now moved into 2nd place in the yellow car number 6. Oh, good way to go. Almost half the race still remaining at Michigan. There is Bigelow. Well, it wasn't a permanent pit stop, but it sure did cost him in the standings on the racetrack because we're under the green. A.J. Foyt about to put a lap on Tom Bigelow, and he does successfully do it. So Bigelow is far back in the field now after having led very briefly.
Well, it's amazing how the stars seem to always come to the top, and whether it's an UNSER or whether it's a FOYT or whether it's a Rutherford, seemingly they are the trendsetters.
And there is Dallenbach right now fending off Danny ONGAIS. It looked like ONGAIS might go by him, but not quite, and both of them closing in on A.J. Foyt. We're going to have a good 3-way battle for the lead, it looks like right now.
We certainly are, and when Danny ONGAIS came in from one of his pit stops, he had some adjustments made to the aerodynamics of his car. The front wings, he had them adjusted. Tom SNEVA had the same, and it looks like A.J. Foyt's having an attempt to get past by Wally Dallenbach.
Right?
But he holds him off there as they go through turn 2 now.
Now let's watch and see if ONGAIS' speed on the straightaway is going to carry him up. There he is challenging Dallenbach on the straightaway, and if he has better handling in the corners now, what? But there goes Dallenbach himself challenging Foyt and being shut off by A.J. in turn 3. Moving around towards turn 4, it's still Foyt in 14, Dallenbach in 6, Danny ONGAIS in car number 25. This is the best racing of the day so far.
It certainly is, and A.J. Foyt doesn't leave too many doors wide open. Dallenbach thought he was going to go under him, but he's going to try it again going into turn 2, but A.J. holds his line there. This new surface on this Michigan International Speedway is allowing more racing to take place on a wider section of the racetrack. Danny ONGAIS coming off at turn 2 in an excellent position.
Once again,
and there you see Dallenbach making another attempt on A.J. Foyt, but still he doesn't do it.
Same scene as the last lap, identical. Remember that the speeds at which they're racing are tremendous here. This is one of the fastest race courses in the world. Speeds on the straightaway well over 200 miles an hour. In fact, average lap speeds can be that, and they're side by side. Dallenbach getting past A.J. Foyt as they go into turn 1. He couldn't get him in the corners, so he got him on the straightaway. And now Danny ONGAIS going by A.J. Could be A.J.'s having a problem then. Or that he backed off there, or I don't know what, but he's certainly much slower than he was. It's now Dallenbach in car number 6 in the lead, Danny ONGAIS in 2nd place. You got a theory on this?
It looked like A.J. had just got onto the wrong part of the racetrack there and suddenly was so easily passed by these 2 other cars, he could have lifted off a little bit. And when you take your foot off the accelerator pedal at speeds as high as more than 200 miles an hour, just a breath means a big difference as far as time is concerned. We'll have to sit and wait now and see if A.J. Foyt can catch that up. But of course there you see Danny ONGAIS, the dark car below car number 25 there. The yellow car of course is Wally Dallenbach, and Danny ONGAIS is setting him up, getting into his slipstream or his draft, trying to attempt to go into turn 3 a little faster.
Side by side as they go to turn 3, but ONGAIS must back off, as previously Dallenbach had to back off at that spot from A.J. Foyt. Average speed of the last lap was better than 197 miles per hour. So the racing goes on, but Dallenbach, for the moment, has established himself as the leader over Danny ONGAIS, and there are the others. We return again to Michigan International Speedway, where the story is still the same. Danny ONGAIS closing in on, making his presence known to Wally Dallenbach, the leader in the Michigan 150. Perfect racing afternoon, remember, and yet some 7 of the original 20 cars have already dropped out. two in an accident. Spike GEHLHAUSEN and Al Unser, but both are reported by the track hospital to be okay, suffering no more than a jammed ankle for GEHLHAUSEN and a bruised hip for Al Unser. This is Jim McKay with Jackie Stewart, and ONGAIS can't seem to quite get set up on DALLENBACH. Of course, he has plenty of distance to go, Jack.
But ONGAIS is not the type of man who sits and waits. He's a man who likes to charge and likes to go through. But the man you're looking at there is Wally DALLENBACH, and there you see with his cowboy hat on there, sitting on the left-hand top side of your picture there, a man who does so much for the safety of motorsport and the safety of the highways too. In the small remote areas that he lives in, he's got a rescue vehicle for people injured on the highways, and he's worked so hard in this particular area. One of the most liked men in motorsport.
Of course, where he lives now is a place called Basalt, Colorado, although he's originally from the crowded eastern seaboard, from East Rutherford, New Jersey. A very dramatic change in living location for him, but he really loves it out there. That's the leader in the race, Wally DALLENBACH. Danny ONGAIS, remember, is the young man from Hawaii, not too young, 36 years old before coming to prominence. Now closing in on DALLENBACH. He's side by side with him. Will he get him? Side by side. Nope, backing off between turns 3 and 4. See if he tries it again coming out of the curve.
Well, the grey whiskers of Wally DALLENBACH are showing themselves. He's got a man of enormous experience, and here's Wally DALLENBACH, 36 years of age, relatively new to the USAC trail. He's come out of motorcycle racing. He's come out of drag racing. He's found his forte here in USAC racing, driving these big, fast Indianapolis cars, lapping at speeds of, 200 miles an hour right now around this racetrack. And he's not a man, as I say, to hold back. If he can pass, and he's just going to attempt to do that right now, he'll do it. But no, Wally DALLENBACH closes the door once again.
That does not seem to be the right place to pass, because DALLENBACH tried it on A.J. FOYT 2 or 3 times.
And
couldn't do it.
ONGAIS is coming into the pits.
Yes, he is. Danny ONGAIS into the pits under the green flag. So DALLENBACH now has a long lead over A.J. FOYT, who moves back into second place in the race. Chris ECONOMAKI has a report on Bigelow, who pulled in earlier. Then we can find out what's wrong with ONGAIS. Chris?
Right. Tom Bigelow was under the yellow flag, missed seeing the pit sign saying you can stop, and wound up not getting to stop in the pits during that yellow flag period. When the green came out, he was leading, and then, of course, he ran low on fuel, had to stop under the green, and found himself more than a lap behind. It's an interesting sideline on the new pit sign. Back to you, Jim.
All right, thank you, Chris. There's DALLENBACH, the leader, on the top, ONGAIS on the bottom.
Well, it's interesting to note that ONGAIS' pit stop was 13.63, and I'll just put my watch here on Wally DALLENBACH and see how he went. 16.3, and of course A.J. FOYT has also come into the pits as we're watching our race leader right now, the man who was leading the race, Wally DALLENBACH.
But what we're seeing are normal pit stops under the green. These are not damage or engine problem pit stops. They're normal pit stops, and it's the normal race of the pit crews. So the pit action continues here at Michigan. We'll be back in a minute. We're back at Michigan International, and there is Wally DALLENBACH, the race leader, slowing down. Suddenly slowing down. Looks like a major problem for him. It looks like all you have to do is get the lead in this race, and your car breaks down, and that brings out the yellow again. Last weekend, Jackie Stewart and I had an assignment at the old Monza Autodrome outside. We returned to Michigan International Speedway. Jim McKay with Jackie Stewart. At our commentary position, Danny ONGAIS has established himself as a solid leader in the Michigan 150. Remember, this is same-day coverage on this Saturday, September 16th. Beautiful afternoon if you haven't been with us before. Fine day for racing, but been a lot of action, a lot of cars out of the race. A crash earlier with Spike GEHLHAUSEN and Al Unser. Apparently both of them are all right. And other cars dropping out through various forms of attrition. Chris ECONOMAKI is with Al Unser, who was in that accident. Okay, Chris.
Well, Al, you look okay. That was quite a solid hit you took. How did it set up?
Well, Chris, Spike blew an engine in front of me, and it's just one of those racing accidents, and I had nowhere to go, and when we hit the fence, he hit me, and I was between him and the fence, and it really tore things up.
How about yourself? I understand your hip's bothering you.
Well, it's a little sore. The body came in on me, but I'm all right, I think.
Al, it's been your third bad crash of the year. How do you feel about this year? But 3 big wins, too. Well,
we've had a lot of ups, and we've had a lot of downs, and this is one of them. This is one of the times where you wonder what the heck you did wrong today.
Okay, Al Unser, okay, but out of it.
Well, there's certainly been a lot of action. I think some of the cars haven't been handling quite as well as usual. I think Tom SNEVA's car doesn't seem to be handling to his satisfaction. He's back there in 4th position. We saw some adjustments being made to his car, but this one here, the car of Danny ONGAIS, he wasn't handling too well to begin with, and in his first pit stop he had some work done to his front wings, his front aerofoil, so that he could get more bite. So therefore that's the situation, and there you can see the difference between Danny Ongais and AJ Foyt. That shows you the distance on the racetrack as they come in round this long, big turn here. AJ Foyt very low on the racetrack, and it seems going very slowly. It seems to be that AJ Foyt's got trouble.
Yes, here comes Johncock up high, going past AJ Foyt, no question. Going past him right now. You're looking at Danny Ongais. However, AJ Foyt has been passed by Gordon Johncock. There it is. Johncock on the left, well past AJ Foyt now.
AJ Foyt has a problem. There's no question in my mind AJ's got a trouble. It seemed to me almost like a puff of smoke came out of his car. And there's the lead you see that Danny Ongais has. It's all the way around the racetrack. Danny Ongais is already in turn 1 and 2. And there you see the car of Gordon Johncock just flashing past the start-finishing line as I speak. And Danny Ongais well and truly leading this race. AJ Foyt did not come into the pits, but certainly his car is driving along in front straight away, puffing out smoke.
So it is Ongais the leader. In second place, Gordon Johncock. In third place, Tom SNEVA, and he is not very far behind Johncock. That could be a race before these closing laps are over. There are less than 3 laps to go in the race now, and it is, as a matter of fact, SNEVA is beginning to close in on Gordy Johncock. Ongais all by himself in the lead going into turn 1, but this race for second is shaping up as something interesting.
And as they start,
2 laps to go.
2 laps to go. Tom SNEVA going into turn 1 seems to be making an attempt.
Yes,
and he
is.
has.
He's got him.
He's gone through.
Okay, so Tom SNEVA, who's been well back in the field most of the race, suddenly closes in, takes advantage of a situation here. And we've got AJ Foyt. I believe that's his car. He was still out there smoking. Let's see if that's going to bring out the yellow. That's the white flag. This is the final lap. Apparently the yellow will not come out, as the white flag is given to Danny Ongais. There is still no yellow, although there may be some oil on that racetrack after that blown engine. Danny Ongais apparently is going to breeze to victory with Tom SNEVA second now. He just has a lap to go. I think he's pretty well ahead of Gordy Johncock. Here, though, is the man of the hour, the young man from Hawaii who started in last place in the race because his car was not here to qualify, and apparently is going to be the winner. They've got the checker flag out, waiting for Danny Ongais. AJ Foyt continued to spew smoke as he's on the race course. Ongais has won the race, and the checkered flag was given to him. Waiting for the second place car now, which is going to be Tom SNEVA. SNEVA in car number 1 is second. Gordy Johncock in number 20 is third. That's the way they finished in the Michigan 150.